What's up, everybody? How's it going? It's hump day. We're back with another Ask Tim, and I have the doggos today. Clara's under my desk, and Remo's right here, as you can tell. Can you not whine? People don't like that. Can you not whine? Look at that face. We are 25 pounds of puppy now. Yes, we're big, bigger. All right, go terrorize Clara. And I'll give them the dingo stick, I promise. Yes, look at them coming back. Do you guys like these? Do you guys like your dingo sticks? Can you sit? Sit. Both of you guys have to sit. Remo, sit. You know sit. Sit. Good boy. There you go. There you go, Clara. You're a good girl. There they go. They're having their dingo sticks. Go eat away from the chair. Clara is... Hang on. Let me tie him up. No. You're getting tied today. All right. You can eat your dingo stick in peace now. Here. Here. There you go. Good dog. Clara has definitely seemed to like be more of an old grouchy dog now that we have the puppy. I don't know if she actually is or it just seems like it, but the comparison between before we got the puppy and after we got the puppy is pretty wild. I'm just turning my air conditioning on here because I realized it's 76 in here. I was like, it's quite warm. So anyways, let's get into the questions. I did open up the giveaway form that is fully functional now. We did just get a bunch of EasyFlex plates in. So if you guys, I know what people are asking about EasyFlex plates for certain machines. The only thing I believe we're out of is the 220 by 220 magnetic base for the 220 by 220 plate. But we have a ton of the 235 by 235s, and they're the same exact price. So if you do have a printer that needs the 220 by 220 EasyFlex, just get the 235 magnet because the magnets you can just trim down with either a knife or a pair of scissors. They're the exact same magnet, just pre-cut to different sizes. So we don't have any actual pre-cut 220s, but we do have the 235s, and they're the same. Oh, I just got shipping notification. Oh, awesome. Anyways, like it just popped up on my screen. Sorry, ADHD is a bitch sometimes. I'm sure you guys would be shocked to know that I have ADHD. Just absolutely dumbfounded. No, Tim, no way. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's see what questions we have. You guys need to ask questions in chat, and I will attempt to answer them. We usually try to keep these to about an hour in length, and today we will be sticking to that that hour length just because we got a lot of stuff going on here. We also got dual Z kits in, so if you guys are wondering about the Ender 3 V2 CR20 dual Z kits, we do have those now. They're not stocked on the website yet because we're processing them right now. We go through and check every single thing on there, all the bearings, the belt, make sure the belt's the right length, the lead screw's straight, all the parts are in there, etc. So they will be coming to the shop in a couple of days. So the Ender 3 dual Z kits are there. The Ender 6 is what I'll be spending my evening with tonight. I was going to do it yesterday, but I had some board repairs to get wrapped up, which is what I'll be finishing after the stream's over. So if you have a board in here for repair, and we've confirmed we have it, already started on some. I got to deflux this and finish this, but I got a couple other ones here, and things are moving along. So anyways, yeah. What other thing else? What else do we have? I know we're getting low on the easy plugs for the Wi-Fi plugs on the power monitoring version. Yeah, we've only got 8 left in stock. I do have more of those on the way, but we do have plenty of the standard ones. And the only difference between those two plugs is that the Plus comes with power monitoring. So if you want to know your printer's watts, amps of voltage and stuff. But if you're just looking for a standard on-off control of your printer, which a lot of people do, we just use standard ones here. I don't use the power monitoring ones on any of the machines except for my Ender 3. And I don't even use the data reports. But anyways, we have those. They've been selling really well. We have more of the power monitoring ones on the way. The bulbs are being tested. I have them in here. I use them every single day. I screw around with them. So our next smart home product, because the Easy Plug, even though it is great with Octoprint, you can use it for smart home stuff, but we are going to start branching off into more smart home products. And the next one's going to be 110 volt bulbs. So, and sadly, because of all the different voltages and plugs, most of the stuff we're coming out with for the home automation market will be US voltage and style. So like the plug and bases, that kind of stuff. Anyways, because we're in the US, so that's what we try to focus on. That's where the majority of our sales are from too as well. So I don't think I have any other updates. We did just, like I said, in general, we got a lot of stock in. The T-nut assortments are back in stock. Trying to think what else we got in yesterday. We got belting in. The belt was out of stock, so we have our tough belt, which is just your standard GT2 belt, and it's reinforced. So it's good for if you're replacing your belt on your printer. And one thing I do want to mention, if you guys are replacing a belt on like a Creality printer, they usually have those little brass crimps on the ends of them. You don't need those on the new belt. I actually just will take 2 small nylon zip ties and put them at the end of the belt as a stopper. So let's see what questions we have here. Jonathan Bayer bought a new printer. What did you get, Jonathan? Living the dream. That's adult talk for my life is terrible right now. You guys ever see that meme? It's like, if you ever see an adult saying that they're just living the dream, it means shit, it sucks right now. Jonathan Bayer's got an Ender 6 on the way. Awesome. Well, Ender 6 is going to be under my scalpel tonight. Let's see here. I don't know if I'll stream it. I might be in the Discord. So I don't know if you guys know this, but our Discord server, you can do videos and stuff and voice calls. And what I'll usually do is just kind of pop my camera out and hang out in there. It's not like a recorded thing or anything. It's just kind of a live chat. Let me see here. I'm going to check the Discord live chat or live stream channel. Looks like people posted in there. So yeah, if you guys want to share photos or links, there's a live stream channel on our Discord server. It's linked in the description here, and you can go ahead and post links and pictures and stuff. And I can take a look at them because YouTube does not let you share that stuff. So let's see what questions we have. Jonathan Barnes, when printing, does the plus on baby step Z mean more or squish means less? I'm trying to think. I believe the plus is more, but if you've got a knob, I know turning it clockwise, it's probably, no, it's not going to be reversing. Clockwise? Is that clockwise? Yeah, turning the knob clockwise will make it go closer, and turning it counterclockwise will make it go further away. Now you got me like second guessing myself. Which way is it? I think this board has firmware on it. It should. I think this board's done. I just got to clean it. Now you got me. You ever like, you do something so often that it's just second nature and you forget or you second guess yourself like, did I do that? Let me see here. I'm pretty sure it's the plus, but it shows the direction and arrows. Although you might have a printer where you don't have the nice graphical display. Oh, this is just baby step Z. So, damn it, that's not going to help me. Hang on. Why'd you have to ask me this question? I'm second guessing myself. Hang on. Okay. So press, press. Yeah, so clockwise is going to bring it further. Okay. Yeah. So counterclockwise would be bottom. Yeah. All right. Let's not mess with that print. I have mounts going on there. I just look at the screen because if you notice on the screen here, it shows you which direction the nozzle is going to go. Do you see that? So there's a down arrow. So counterclockwise is down. That arrow to the left of the knob direction is which way your nozzle is going to go. So I always just look at that when I do it. That's why when I was asked the question, I was like, I don't know, because I never really think about it. I just do it. So, yeah. I hate weird stuff like that, where when you just do it, you go to the thing, and you go do the thing, and then someone asks you about it, you're like, deer in the headlights. So, anyways. Let's go with the next question here. But anyways, the more negative the number on a Z offset is, the closer it's going to move the nozzle to the bed. The less negative it is, so like -1 is going to bring the nozzle down 1 millimeter closer to the bed, whereas -2 is going to bring it 2 millimeters closer to the bed. So hopefully that explains it. But what was I was gonna do something. Oh, yeah, I just opened this up today because I found this. It fell behind. I thought I didn't have green. So I'm curious, what's everybody's favorite flavor? Because I know we got a bunch of people in here, and I have all of them. Aha! All of them. I'm a whore. So, anyways, post your favorite one. If you guys, I know a bunch of people got this. I love this shit. I actually gave Joe, who's our new operations manager, I gave him I hit an extra one of the melon, and he's hooked on it now. So, let's see. I got Maw on my mustache. Did I get it? I think I got it. Let's see here. So yeah, we went over the baby stepping there. Andrew Humphrey said he posted a photo on the Livestream Discord as Morgan EMI. Morgan has electromagnetic interference. Do you have EMI? Ender 3v6 and a dies extruder and a Bowden setup. Want to know if it's an extruder issue or Z banding. Let's take a look. Let's see what your issue is here. That's hard to say. I would say this is an extruder issue. Could also be a filament diameter issue. This is not Z banding. So Z banding occurs when the lead screw is messing with your print. It's shifting the gantry. This looks like extrusion because it's not consistent. So like, let me see. I don't have an example here, but there we go. So like this would be Z banding. As you guys can see, it's consistent. I was looking for that, what's it called? I was looking for they had a thumbnail and it's not actually in the article, but that's Z banding. It could also be this. I totally forgot about this. Depending on what kind of heater you're using, especially if you have an AC bed heater, your bed heating could cause this. Now, if you're using our firmware, we have the bang bang loop set to 1/2 second. I believe the default is 5 seconds on Marlin, so there's more chance for the temperature to fluctuate on the stock Marlin settings. But just like for an example, I'm going to double check. I'm pretty sure we have ours to 500 milliseconds, which is 1/2 second, to combat that, so you don't actually have to run a PID loop. I think it's an advanced. Should be right here. Yeah, here. So bed check interval. So this is the milliseconds. How many milliseconds interval between checks in bang bang control? So we're 1/2 second. The Marlin defaults, though, which I will pull up here. I believe it's 5 seconds, either 2 seconds or 5 seconds. So let me pull up the Marlin stock one. So here's the Marlin stock one. So that's called bed check interval. 5 seconds. So we're running it 10 times faster than the default Marlin. So yeah, with 5 seconds, you got a lot more time for the bed to go up and down in temp and potentially move and flex. Whereas the stock on ours is 500 milliseconds, or half a second. So, but you could try PID. I would try PID, and you have to tune your bed. The reason we don't like enabling PID out of the box is because you have to. Can you not? Lay down. Lay down. Stop sniffing and lay down. He's messing with me now. He's like back there. Anyways, yeah, so you got less chance. It's smoother regulation with our firmware because we tweaked that setting. But you can try PID bed tuning. The only thing is you got to remember that when you're doing PID bed tuning is you have to calibrate the PID value for your particular printer. So, and everybody's is going to be slightly different. You can get rough ones, like if someone has an Ender 3 and they run a PID tune and they send you their values, it'll probably work fine. But if you want to learn how to PID tune your bed, if you go to our help center and just type PID bed, it will show up here. There's PID bed calibration guide. It's also under guides, DIY guides, and then PID bed calibration guide. But here's options in here. So if you're using our firmware, you have to enable the PID bed. Same thing in Marlin too. It's the same value. And then you need to send a G-code command to the printer and let it go through cycles. So this is going to cycle the bed 10 times to try to get a PID value for the bed. It'll run through a loop here, as you can see in the screenshots. And then you want to do an M500 and it will save it. Now, what you can do is you can also get the values here and put these in the firmware themselves. So you can see here, the firmware tells you put the last KP, KI, and KD constants from below into the configuration.h file. And our firmware is set up to work correctly if you follow the standard Marlin directions that you see here. So if our firmware sees that you've defined your own PID values for the bed, it will use those instead of the Marlin defaults, because the Marlin defaults may not work for your particular machine and its bed heater. So I would say it's either extrusion or it could be your bed, especially if you have an AC bed. I don't know if you run an AC bed, but what a bed would do is, because it's the bed's slightly flexing as it's going through the heating cycles. If you're doing PID, the regulation is so fast that it tries to hold it exactly at that temperature by varying how intensely or the amount of current that's going to the bed, either 5%, 10%, 50%, 100%, except it's doing this over and over and over again, many times a second, very fast. So yeah, that'd be something to check. If that was on my machine, I would check the bed, switch it over to PID, run a tune, put the tune configuration values into the firmware, re-upload the firmware. Because here's the thing, if you just run the PID bed calibration like in the guide and you save it to EEPROM, the next time you reset EEPROM, those values will be gone. Whereas if you copy and paste those into your firmware and compile it, when you reset the EEPROM, the defaults now will be the ones you have in the firmware instead of what's in the EEPROM. So Ram Designs, is there a size for the Chiron for the EasyFlex? I believe the 410 by 410 fits that machine. I could go run it. I have a Chiron sitting out there, and I have a 410. Hang on, let me check real quick. I believe it will. I don't want to get my fingers caught. Yes, the 410 by 410 will fit the Chiron. That's what I just grabbed there. That's what's on my AlphaWise machine. The 410 by 410 will fit there. Let's see here. Jason M, lead screw couplers coming soon. They should be. I actually just got a notification from DHL that like 15 packages were on their way to us, so we should be getting a lot more inventory too. Tom Beluco says, hey Tim, a week or two ago you talked about how you set your first layer to 150%. I tried it and noticed a much nicer first layer. Can you reiterate your reasoning on why you do it? It basically gives you a larger first layer, so any slight, ever so slight deviations in the bed, because when you run an ABL probe, you're not probing the entire surface of the bed. You're getting an approximate value, for how warped it is or how unlevel it is. So when you run a higher first layer, it's much less noticeable if you're just slightly off on your Z offset or your Z height. So I like it too because I feel like it also gives you better adhesion to your build surface as well, because you're pushing out a larger, fatter extrusion. So it's got more surface area versus a bunch of tiny small ones. So yeah. Craig Williams, who's a new GM? The new GM is my buddy Joe. Joe actually has, Joe's the guy that builds these printers right here. So he does his stuff. He's only here part-time. And he's actually been doing a great job working half the hours as the old person did, and doing a lot more. So I don't like talking bad about people in public. So, but Joe's come in here and whipped everything into shape. We're optimizing a lot of our processes. We've already made a lot of changes with shipping and packaging. We changed completely how we're packing the big Easy Flex plate. We're using a lot of foam on, like wrapping foam around the corners, and we got these fancy flat pack type things. So things could be, or should be, a lot better with those getting to people, even if the carriers are rough with them. So they're literally being cradled now in foam, and that's how they were supposed to do, but the old GM wasn't following directions. And that falls on me too, because I was trusting that he was doing his job instead of going out there and following up. So yeah, but I appreciate Joe. I know Joe doesn't need to be working here and helping us out. But I appreciate it. I appreciate that he does want to help us out, because it's been rough. And I really appreciate him. He brings a lot of good knowledge, especially with organization, to the table. So I'm very thankful to have him. And we hired a guy named Sean, who actually was a customer of ours who lived in the area. We hired him, and he started on Monday. He is currently processing dual Z kits right now, and he's picking up on things very fast. He's got a lot of good common sense. He also builds drones. So he's already, pretty well versed in common sense when it comes to electronics and polarity and soldering and stuff. And he also has a couple 3D printers too. So I'm feeling really good about the new people we added to the team. So let's see. Sean does get an employee discount. He's already eyeballing a lot of stuff. So I'm like, are we basically just gonna you're gonna have no check for your first check? We're just gonna trade product. But no, I give him some stuff too. I like to take care of people, especially if they do a good job here. Let's see here. R Mills, do you sell belt for the Y on the CR10S, the bigger one? The CR10S I have has a 6mm wide belt, but if I'm correct, the CR10S4 and the S5 have a 9 or 10mm wide belt. I replaced the one on my CR10S4 when I had one with just the standard 6, and it worked fine. If you really wanted to, you could replace the idler that's by the Y motor with a 6mm one. But I don't carry the 10. I really should get the 10 in, even if it's just a small quantity. But I have used a 6 in a pinch, and it works fine. Let's see here. All Septic Bow says, is 15mm second print speed okay for TPU on a stock Ender 3 Pro with a 0.5 nozzle? Yeah, that's decent for stock. If you want to go faster, you could change out your tubing and extruder for something like our tough tubing or the tough extruder, because that's going to give you a much nicer guided filament path and tighter tolerances in the tubing. But if you're pulling off 15 on a stock Ender 3, that's good. That's a lot better than a lot of people do. So Buzzword says, great 32-bit yet cheap. Well, pick one. You can't pick both. But the Ender 3 is now shipped with 32-bit boards, unless you get something that's really old stock. So my recommendation is going to be an Ender 3 Pro. Go with the Pro. Spend a couple extra bucks on the Pro because you're going to be getting the Meanwhile power supply, and I think that alone is worth it. You're also going to be getting a wider extrusion on the Y, and usually they throw in other stuff like their little floppy magnetic thing. Like, it's fine for coming with the printer, but most people pull that off and put on something like our Easy Flex system. So let's see. I was really grateful for your video that warned me away from two trees. Yeah, don't touch them. Don't touch two trees, Homers, TiVo, Tronxy. Tronxy is just, it's really cheap garbage. They don't really interact with anybody for the most part. When I got a Tronxy machine for review, it was through Banggood, not through Tronxy, and Tronxy openly violates the GPL and just never has complied. So their printers are garbage. They violate the GPL. I have no reason to buy them. There's so many other good printers out there. So, yeah, I would go with the Ender 3 Pro, man. The Ender 3 Pro is the best cheap printer in my opinion. And notice I'm saying the Pro, not the V2. I don't like the LCD on the V2. Yeah, so anyways, let's see. John Grope says, installing Marlin 2 on an 1.7 board. Visual Studio Code builds, but I can't install. I tried installing OptiBoot and the regular bootloader via Arduino. How can I confirm the bootloader is installed correctly? If it takes the bootloader and you have nothing on the LCD, meaning the old firmware was overwritten, that means it took the bootloader. So if it told you it took the bootloader and you have nothing on your LCD, that means the bootloader's on there. If you're using our firmware for the ANET machines, it does work, but you need the OptiBoot bootloader installed on there. And that would be, you would actually use Arduino to flash the bootloader and then use Visual Studio Code for the firmware. So as far as I know, I mean, there might be a way to get it able to flash a bootloader with Visual Studio Code. But like we have a pre-set up package on our site. You would actually download the Unified 1 firmware and use it just for burning the bootloader, because the ANET OptiBoot bootloader is a part of that package. So what I would do if I were you is, get Arduino Uno, hook it up per our bootloader guide, use the Arduino IDE package to flash the ANET OptiBoot bootloader, and then try to upload your code with Visual Studio Code. Now, here's one thing. Like, I've got a bunch of stuff on my computer that shows up as COM ports. Some of my electronics testing equipment, my motherboard has some Intel management thing on there. They all show up as COM ports. You have to manually set the COM port most times if you're someone like me that has a computer with a bunch of stuff plugged into it, and some of it shows up as COM ports, because it's not going to work. I'll show you right here. In our help center, which is support.th3dstudio.com. So anytime I say help center, that's our support website. You can get to it by going to support.th3dstudio.com, or, if you're on our site, you can just click help center. The main site supports drop-down menus. The help center does, but they don't work correctly, so we have them disabled. But you can just click help center. It'll take you here. And if you just type VS Code serial, this should come up with here. There we go. Manually selecting your upload COM port. So you would go ahead and just follow these steps to determine what COM port your printer's on. And then after you determine the COM port your printer's on, you go into the platform io.ini file. You select the default environment. You're going to need to go down and select it and find. And if you notice, and this is only in our firmware, this is not in Marlin. If you're using regular Marlin, you'll have to manually type in this upload_port equals. But if you're using ours, you just uncomment the upload port, and then you go ahead and put your COM port in there, and then you should be able to successfully upload to your board for the firmware. So I'm willing to bet you probably burned the bootloader correctly, and it's probably just having an issue with the COM port selection. So let me go back to chat here. Jonathan Bayer, have you used Clipper? If so, how is it? I haven't used Clipper in over a year, and I wasn't impressed with it, so I stick with Marlin. Until I find something that I'm doing that Marlin doesn't do, I'm going to keep using Marlin. So, but it's open, Clipper's open source. It's free. If you got a board that'll run on, give it a shot. So, Kenneth Wodiska says, anything new in Marlin bug fix I should recompile and load? I'm not sure. I haven't been keeping up with Marlin bug fix. I usually wait, until the Marlin does an official release, and then I'll move our code over to it, and that's usually a couple week delay, because what happens is we'll pull down, let's say Marlin does new release today. I'll pull down the code. I'll start updating our code base to the new Marlin base, and then do test compiles on all the different builds, the boards, that kind of stuff, make sure everything works. But until there's a new release, and there hasn't been a new release in a while, I don't do that, because let's say I pull down the bug fix, and what happens is bug fix usually ends up being the next Marlin release. However, if I pull down bug fix today and the next Marlin release isn't out for 2 months, I'm going to have to redo all that work of merging the code again when the next Marlin release is out. So I don't usually mess with it too much, just because it's kind of making more work for myself that, may not even be worth it. So, because the thing is, if I push out a version of our firmware that's based on bug fix could have issues. Bug fix usually has issues. That's why it's not an official release. So I like sticking with actual official Marlin releases. Not to say that there's never bugs in them, but there's less likely to be bugs in an official release versus a bug fix setup. So let's see here. I'm looking at chat jumped on me, so I'm going back to where we were. Okay. Buzzword, how can I send you a prototype heater block to test? That's interesting. We have a PO box listed on our website. You can set it there. We operate out of our home here, and TH3D actually operates out of a building that's on our property. So we have a PO box, because we've literally had really fucking creepy people show up at my house on the weekend, like, just out of the blue. So we're like, yeah, we're getting a PO box, because I don't want randos showing up at our house. So basically, my office is in the house here. This is actually in the garage. My wife's office is in the house. She does a ton of stuff here. Like right now, she's helping out with orders. But everybody that does all our day-to-day stuff, all our packing, our big print farm, all the stuff, that's all out in our outbuilding out back, and that's all finished and everything. So, let's see. Next one would be Max CJ. Hey, I just upgraded my main board, my CR10 V3, and now the drivers aren't as silent as they were with the stock board suggestion, or stock board suggestions. Drivers are UART 2209 on MKS E3P. It sounds like you're probably actually in spread cycle mode, or you might be running your VREF too high. Because the CR10 V3 comes with Trinamic 2208, so the actual noise level should be the same. Because a 2208 and a 2209, they're the same exact noise level. The 2209 is a newer revision of the 2208 that supports what's called stall guard, which is like people use it for sensorless homing. But basically, if you have end stops on your printer, the TLDR is if you have end stops on your printer and you're not pushing motors that require more than 1.5 amps output, which 99% of the printers we deal with are well under an amp. The 2208s work the same as the 2209s. So, Coffeeology got a FlashForge Creator Max for free. I feel like it's an old 8-bit board. Could I upgrade it to a Duet or Easy board? You probably could. I mean, if you're looking for a fun project, I mean, I put high-end boards in stupid shit, so I can't be like, no, don't do that. I mean, if you got the money and you want a project, the sky's the limit. Like I actually just put an Easy board in my buddy Joel. He actually works here 1 day a week, just helping us with the print farm. And I gave him a G-Tech 820, and the stock board was just having all sorts of temperature fluctuations, and we put an Easy board in it. So, and he's like, this thing's great. I was like, oh, I'm glad you like it, because it took me like 2 hours of time to get that all switched over. But I used the DIY firmware for the Easy board with it. And I changed the LCD. So we had to change the LCD out because G-Tech uses a 12864, but it's got a ribbon cable, so I couldn't like easily plug that into the Easy board. So I just found a printed housing. I actually took an old Big Tree Tech LCD that I had. It's like their dual mode touchscreen. It's like not the Ender 3 style. It's wide. But I bought it to play with, and it's been sitting here for months, but someone had a mount for that specific screen. It was the only one for the A20 to put a different screen on other than stock, and I just happened to have it. I was like, well, I'll just update the firmware on that screen to only be in 128/64 mode. So he's just using it as a 128/64 LCD and connected it up, and it's working great. So I told him just keep an eye on the LCD, because either I feel like with the Big Tree Tech stuff, either you get something that works well or it just dies quick. But it was sitting in my drawer for 9 months, and I wasn't using it, so I gave that to him. What is my... I think my Pi messed up on the... I just looked over, and my printer over there, although that one's been acting weird, I think I gotta replace the SD card in the Pi. Because it's just been, like, losing connection to the printer board. Either that or the MKS Gen L, and there's going out. I mean, that thing's over 2 years old. And it's got a lot of time on it. Yeah, they dropped the serial. I think the USB to serial bridge is going out on there. I'll have to change that board. I'll have to change that board tonight. I got a couple MKS Gen Ls. Not the S Gen L, the old 8-bit one. I'll probably just put another 8-bit one in there because I don't feel like changing everything out on that printer. Or redoing. I wouldn't have to change that much. I don't know. I'll think about that later. What's the next question here? Tell me, where did I get the Easy 300 printer? I built it. That was the prototype. And it still works. Well, aside from now, where the USB thing is going on. I don't know if it's my Pi or it's the board. I'll have to mess with it. I got so much other stuff to do. Yeah, that was the first one. It existed. It's still in my office. I'm probably just going to... Actually, I'm going to swap the Pi out on that, because if it's just the Pi, that's way easier than completely changing the board on the printer if I don't need to. Or it could be my USB cable. Could be my USB cable. It's one of those blue ones. Let's see here. I have a Pi right here. Just switch it out. I'll switch it out after the stream. I'll see if that's the case. I don't know if it's the Pi or the SD card or the USB cable. Could be any one of those things. I have no idea. I need to troubleshoot. Let's see here. Soria says, I'm awakening my Ender 3 for... Wait. I'm not sure what you mean. For binding in, you guys are ache... Well, you guys, I don't know. You need to retype that question. I have no idea. He says, do you know why my Ender 3 doesn't flash any firmware? I have the 427, so I shouldn't need the bootloader. I'm putting the bin file in the SD card doesn't work. Your bin file needs to be a different name every single time. Your SD card also needs to be formatted as FAT32. So make sure, like for example, if I take this SD card out, this one has Octoprint on it. This is one I was just testing different things on. If I take that SD card out and put in a printer, it's not going to flash firmware, because like when you write an image for Octoprint to an SD card, it creates multiple partitions. For it to work correctly, you have to have one partition on the SD card. So you need to clear out, make sure you only have one partition and clear out anything that's not that. I'll usually blow away the whole partition table and create one primary partition. Let's see here. Ed says, check Discord. I posted a live chat under Ed. Let's see here. Let's see what Ed sent in. Oh, wrong one. That's the whiteboard, which isn't active right now. Ed is talking about these lines here. Were these printed at the same time, or were these run back to back? Because this looks like... I can't see the rest of the part, but I can see some parts here. I'm wondering if your nozzle's like hitting something and it's like losing steps, but then it gets knocked back. I don't think that's the case. That usually rarely happens, where you'll lose step in one direction and then it'll be the opposing direction. I would say this looks like Can you post the model in there? Can you post the model in Discord so I can take a look? Because it's hard to tell without it. Because here's the thing. These look pretty good. These look uniform. These look uniform. So does this. But then you got this here. This could just be a slicing issue. Because if you had other problems on the printer, I feel like this would not be as consistent here. Because even though this is like pushed in, and like I said, I don't know the model. So if you can post the model you're printing in chat, that'd be good. Yeah, I'm almost inclined to say this is probably a slicer issue and not necessarily like a printer issue. Because usually you'll see more inconsistent. Like this is consistently inconsistent, if that makes sense, because this looks like it's recessed the same amount and then it's bumped out again here, but it's not like random, it's like the entire layer. So post the STL in there so I can take a look. Discord should let you upload STL files. Let's see. Dogewaw said I upgrade the firmware on my CRX and the screen started flickering like crazy. I'm setting a video on Discord. It was fine with the Unified 1 firmware. Let's see. I'm going to download your video here. There better not be a dick in it. Okay, we're good. There's no dick in the video. There's no dick on the phone. There was a dick on the phone. I think it was Kevin Hart. Okay, so this is not flickering. This is an interference issue. So you can try adjusting the timings of the LCD. Because there's probably slightly different timings on Marlin 2 versus Marlin 119. I'm wondering what... Hang on, let me look at the CRX config here. So let me switch here. View repository. Go on GitHub. I need to go back to one of the old releases because I had, yeah, so this was the last one here. New printer support. Browse files. Let me see if I had anything special in here. I don't think I had anything special in here for the CRX. I don't think I did. What you might want to check too is move your motor or move your LCD signal wires away from anything that's power, because that could cause issues. I'm trying to find my... Oh, it's over here. Hi, buddy. We're almost done. We only got 20 minutes left. All right. Let's see. I don't think I had anything... Oh no, why is it doing that? Okay, so you could try messing with these settings here, the ST7920 delays. But I'm trying to see if I had any for the CR10S. I don't think I did. If you put these into your config file, that may fix it, and let me know if it does, because this is going to change the screen delays. I'm trying to see. I don't think I have or had to use that on the CR10S with the older firmware. I'm not seeing it here in the files. Let me see. I just want to say, I wish I was like, I don't necessarily wish I was a streamer, but I wish I had more time to stream. I like hanging out with you guys and like walking through issues. So I say guys, not meaning just people with penises, but you know, you guys know what I mean. It's just there's probably also no women watching. Maybe one. What's my channel demographics? I'm pretty sure my channel demographics is like negative women. Something like that. I'm curious now. I'll pull that up. All right, let's see. Is there anything, did I have any delays set in here? This is the pins file for the CR10S board, which is what the CRX would use. I didn't have any delays set in here, but Marlin 2 may have more aggressive delays set. Let me see here. I'm going to search for the firmware here. What is it? ST7920. Let's see. Hey, but Teams on Do Not Disturb. Donna, what's up, Donna? You would be watching, you nerd. how's you have a CRX? How's that been treating you? Donna picked up my CRX that I had. Oh no pet. Oh, there it goes. All right, let's see. There's at least one. Remo, enough. If he gets too yappy, I'll put him inside in his crate. Claire is getting up and coming close to me, and yeah, he's very upset. He's upsetty. I'm just trying to see where they have the delays defined. Yeah, I think they're conditionals LCD, CR10 stock display. Do they have these set anywhere else? Remo, you need to be quiet. I believe that would be set to the rep full graphics though. Yeah, I would try, so in the configuration H file, let me pull that up. I'm just going to pull it up on our GitHub because that's the easiest. Hey, stop playing your water. I hope you guys don't mind. If me yelling at the puppy is annoying on these streams, don't be afraid to let me know. I don't want to piss people off. I just want to try to have him out as much as possible. I don't like keeping him crated too often. But all you should have to do is add in the ST90 delay and see if that works. So let me pull that up here. I think that was in the configuration backend on the old one. I would just put these lines in. I'll post it, since you're in Discord, I'll post it in the Discord. Try adding this into your configuration.h file, and I will and compile it and see if this works, because this should override, if these are defined, this should override anything Marlin 2 defines. And if that does work, make sure you give me an update and let me know, and I'll just have it set. Because here's the thing, even if we set this delay and people aren't having issues, it's not going to cause problems. So Mr. Doge, there you go. There you go, he acknowledged. So just add that to your configuration.h file, and then re-upload to the printer and see if that fixes the issue. Because that's usually, so the root cause of this is interference on the LCD lines. So, but what you can do to mitigate that is increasing the time that's allotted between it sending the data to the LCD screen. And so if it's got longer time to send the data and it sends it slower, it's less likely to be corrupted by interference. So that's kind of the logic there. But yeah, let me know. I had that. Actually, I have that LCD and board here, and I can test it here. So I'll put myself in task here. Let me put that in my. Oh, I closed Teams. All right, I can open that again. Let me put a note here so I don't forget to test. Hey, your options are there, or crate? What do you want? Do you see this shit? It's like he's trying to guilt me by being cute. Look at this shit. Those damn ears. Yeah, it's like having a toddler. I haven't had toddlers because we don't have any kids yet. But I've been around toddlers, and there's a lot of similarities. We are coming up on the time, so I'll try to get through a couple more questions. Where did my Teams go? Okay, it did load. Hang on. I just need to write myself a note here so I don't forget to look at that. I'm going to go to Tim's to-do list and firmware add test CRX firmware plus LCD conversion screen on UF2. check for corruption. And I'm going to assign that to myself. All right. So now I have a task made, which means I will actually remember to do it at some point. Yeah, it's common with a lot of the cheaper ones. The core issue is it's picking up interference, and you can mitigate that with software to a point. But the key thing is getting your LCD cables away from the any power wires or stepper motor wires will usually fix that. But if it doesn't, then you just have to change the timing so it gives it a little more time. So let's see. Michaelis says, "Hello, Tim. How do you really know where to set the filament feeder knob on the Mega Zero? I did not quite understand the instructions. I'm assuming you mean like the tension on it. I would just put it in until, so screw it in and pull on the lever, and you should just have a little bit of resistance. You can't really over tighten it. I mean, you technically can, but because of the design of the extruder, you want to have some tension on that spring because the lever's got to close the two gears together that grab onto the filament. So you got like two gears here that bite into the filament. Okay, so if it's too loose, this gear just kind of comes apart. But if it's too tight, the gears will just stop. They can't like compress any further. But you know, just tighten it up and just give it a feel. It should just have a little bit of tension on it. So, and if you start getting where the filament's slipping, then increase the tension a little bit more. And that should clamp it on a little bit harder. So, the Mega Zero magnetic build plate really sucks. What do I recommend as a replacement? Our EasyFlex. It's our product. I may be biased, but I use it on all my machines. If I'm sure people in the chat can chime in who have them. I love our flex plate systems. They work great. I don't have any printers I use aside from one that I do TPU on because I don't carry the size for it. It's a small bed that we don't make them anymore for. But they're great. We have two different sizes. We just restocked on all the sizes. The Mega Zero, that bed is 230 by 230, and the 235 by 235 will fit that. So we have, if you look on our site, there's EasyFlex. The EasyFlex plates, the 235 by 235 is what you want to get for that one. The magnet you put on there, you can trim it down because the magnet will be 235 by 235. You can trim the magnet down to your bed, and the plate will just hang off a couple millimeters on either ends, but it will clear your gantry just fine. But yeah, it's one of those things like once you have it, it's hard to go back to not using it. It's just like when you get into auto bed leveling, it's really nice. It's definitely a creature comfort. But in terms of production, it's optimized our production with our print farm like tenfold because we literally have them on every single machine and we just take them and pop the parts off and put it back on. So let's see here. Yeah, I think the Mega Zero had the floppy type. Like Creality uses those. I don't like those because you do like one or two prints on them and they just start falling apart. Or they get like bumps and stuff in them. They don't last. So especially if you're new and you're still trying to like get the hang of your first layer height, it's really easy to screw those up. So you can still damage flex plates, but they're a lot more resilient, especially if you're dealing with like the textured surface. That's a very resilient surface too. So Dave, common sense isn't common anymore. Yeah, I don't know why we still call it common sense. Superconductor, will your firmware be supporting the under 6? Yes, the goal is convert the LCD over to the Creality one. This is a part we designed here in-house. This is what I'll be putting on it later tonight, along with a Creality LCD. And then once I have this on here, we'll be going forward with, I'll be doing firmware for it. So, sadly, like many of the other printers with the touchscreens, can't do too much with the touchscreens. Like, they're closed source firmware. They're hard to do anything with. So it's easier and it takes less time to just change it out to one that Marlin natively supports and move on. So, but yeah, look at it. I even got fancy. I even put our name on there. Look at that. So fancy. So, This is an 80mm second print on the Daedalus. It came out pretty nice. Absolutely acceptable for draft printing. So I use that sucker quite a bit. So the Daedalus and my Ender 3 Pro that's fully kitted out, those are the two printers I use the most in here. So, there was another question here. Craig Williams, I recently got a steel Y-axis belt tensioner for my Ender 3, and the bearing that the belt goes around was a smaller diameter than the stock unit. Would that cause issues, or is that something I should calibrate? If it put the belt in there, and if the belt is rubbing on the sides, yes, it could cause issues because it's going to wear the sides of the belt down. But if the belt fits in there, enough. Lay down. Look at that. Got bring the dad voice out. But if the belt fits in there, and it's not rubbing on the sides, you're probably fine. If it is rubbing on the sides, then I probably wouldn't even mess with it. So I used to do tensioners on all my printers, but unless they come with them, I've just been using the stock ones because recently, like with the Creality units, you can adjust the stock ones, and that's not something you should be changing all the time. So, Tommy O, how much is the EC300 printer? That printer is vaporware at this point. I couldn't get people that could follow directions and have common sense when it came to assembling printers, so it never got off the ground, sadly. But I have mine here, just reminding me of the failed project. But hey, I would say at least it prints, but dealing with something with the cable. I'm going to try changing the USB cable in the Pi and see if that fixes it. Otherwise, I'm going to change the board. So, but it's over 2 years old now. I can't really fault it. Let's see here. Andrew Humphrey. So don't ask any more questions now. If you're watching, I'm going to try to get through the next couple ones and just give shorter, less detailed replies. So, because he probably has to go out. He ate about an hour ago. Enough. He just like was. I heard that. Can LDO Pancake NEMA 17s in a dual Z-Rod lift the gantry good enough? I haven't messed with them. If it's a 0.9 degree stepper, I'd say you're probably playing with fire there. You might have step loss, but if they're 1.8 degrees, you might be okay. You typically want to use pancakes for something like a geared extruder motor. Michael Gamber says, getting TMC connection error, bug fix the latest Marlin, only Z drive showing all low. That can either be a firmware misconfiguration where you don't have the right address for that driver's UART, or usually what that means, especially if you go back to, I don't know what board you're using, but in general, TMC connection error means one of two things. Either you're powering the board over USB. So if you take like our Easy board and, you power it over the USB cable, you move the jumper and power it up, you'll get a TMC connection error because the drivers aren't receiving power from the USB. But if you're powering it off your printer power supply and you're getting a TMC connection error, it usually means that driver's faulty. And that's with any board with Trinamic drivers. Our boards, Big Tree Techs, Crealities, although Creality doesn't hook UART up to their boards, so if a driver goes out, you have no idea until it stops moving. But usually if you get a TMC connection error and you're sure your firmware config is correct, it's probably that driver is bad and will need to be replaced. So, Rick Barr says, since I upgraded my Ender 3 with the Creality 427 main board, my printer gives a little shock that goes through the printer. I checked all the connections. I don't know what's wrong. Check your grounding, and actually take a multimeter and put it in like DC mode, and then also check in AC mode and check if you have any voltage on there. If you do, then something probably got pinched. It could also just be static. Like if your printer frame is grounded, which most of them should be, if you like walk across carpet or something, or like the dogs, if I pet the dogs, like these dogs are so staticky. So like if I pet the dogs and then touch like an outlet cover or something else that's grounded, I get a shock, like a static shock. Now there's a difference between a static shock and an AC, like, electric shock. Like an AC shock is continuous. If it's just like a quick little, it's just static. And I would recommend not using your printer to discharge static in your body because it could zap the board, in all seriousness. So, let's see. I'm checking here. Yeah, we will be having more easy boards in a couple weeks here. We were able to get 120 processors. So, as far as I know, that's all we're going to have. So if you guys want an easy board, you can go ahead and add it to your wish list. But the next time they go in stock, we will have about 120 of them. That's assuming all those processors pass QC. And then that will be it until we can get our hands on more boards. Or not boards, but the processors. That's what's holding up production right now. We are working on designing a new board that uses a different processor that is easier for us to get a handle on. I have no idea how long the silicon shortage is going to be. No idea. I have no clue. And the problem is NXP right now is showing a 52-week lead time on the processor. So if we can find more processors, we'll run more boards. But the thing is, I'm hoping that we can get more processors because it's going to take us months to come out with a new board. Like I wanted to come out with a new board, like the EasyBoard Pro that we've been trying to get off the ground. But it's just been delay after delay after delay. And now the silicon shortage is just, it's screwing us. But it's screwing a lot of companies too. So we're trying to build a new board based around a different processor that we can actually get. But that's months and months and months out. So I'm hoping we can get some more LPCs at a reasonable price and keep running the easy board that we have now. But, there's really nothing we can do. And I'm not going to rush a new board out there without testing it. So, I mean, we spent close to, I think it was like a minimum of 6 months. I think it was almost 9 months testing the easy board that we're selling now before we brought it to market. And we have a less than 1% failure rate on our boards. So, we did something right. We made sure that things are actually done correctly. So I'm not going to rush a board out just because, oh man, I need to switch processors. Let me just yeet a board out there and get it mostly working. I'm not going to pull a big tree tech and just send out a half-working product that we didn't test. So, but, and the thing is too, like, I can get faster processors and stuff, but we're not going to take advantage of it in Marlin, at least not right now. We're barely even scraping the surface of what the processor we're using on the easy board can do. So we're trying to find different things to work around the silicon shortage. And one of those things will be going with a different processor manufacturer. But again, we're starting over and we have to go through QC and testing. Let me see here. Oh, there we go. People, that's what I was talking about, the Easy Flex plates. Yeah, they're awesome. So, and just so everybody knows, if you're thinking about getting a Wham Bam plate, Wham Bam switch their suppliers. They're using the same supplier we are to get their plates made. So you can get the same exact plate that Wham Bam is selling for 30 to 40% more, depending on the size, from us. And we ship directly from here. We personally handle every single plate and check every single plate. And as far as I know, they're doing drop shipping. So they're sending it from the supplier in China to a warehouse that just fulfills orders. So whereas we have a physical building that we keep all our stock here and we check them all. So we just spent the last 3 days having 2 people go through every single plate and making sure they're up to our standards. So anyways, 330 by 330, we don't have 330 by 330. We have, the next closest size would be either the 310 by 310 or 310 by 320. So if your printer's got a 330 by 330 bed, has a print area that's 310 by 320 or smaller, then you could use a 310 by 320. Just put the magnet down in the area where you actually print. So yeah, 3D Wildcats said, go 2 steps more than you need to on the boards. Trust me. Yeah. No, I mean, we're working on the new one, but again, it's not going to be ready for months. And if we hit a silicon shortage with the new CPU supplier, then we're back in the same position we are with the easy board that we have now. So it's shitty. We have a 376 by 370. That's for the under 5 plus. That would be the next size up. So we are also working on some accessories for the current easy boards. So you guys stay tuned to that. Keep your ear to the ground for new stuff, because we will be releasing some stuff in about a month here. We're getting some things made right now, and I can't wait to show them off. We're keeping it hush hush because last time we were like, hey, we're working on this cool thing. China came along and copied it. So we're waiting until we have them in stock, ready to ship. But I got some cool stuff, so save about 30 or 40 bucks for some play money in about a month. So, because they're going to be great. I want to show them off, but I don't want to spill the beans. So anyways, yeah, I'm looking at our flex plates. So 376 by 370 would be the closest one we have for you were asking 370. That'd probably be your best bet. Anyways, let's see. I know there were a couple more questions, because I do got to get going in a sec here. And Remo finally quieted down. Jonathan Bayer's asking about, is there any way to tell if a board's from a bad batch? What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean. I think he's talking to somebody else. Jack, do you share the STLs like the Ender 6 LCD print you just showed? No, this is a part we sell. So we will be printing these and selling these. So, because the reality is, we have, like, this housing, I've got like 12 hours of labor into this for one of our designers here. So this is a part that we print and sell, and whenever we've shared STLs like that with other people, our competitors use them and then try to undercut us. So, yay. Open source is great, but there are people that take advantage of that, and I'm not going to pay somebody just to give away then our STLs. So, let's see here. Okay, I think that's good. I don't see any other ones. I'm just scrolling down after the cutoff just to see if there's any quick questions here. Superconductor's asking, so I'm thinking about easy boards for my enders. Where can I find longer stepper end switch cables? I put it out in a proper box. I would honestly just cut the wires and extend them with the same type of wire. I always keep, and I've got two conductor and 4 conductor wire. Make sure you buy copper, not copper clad aluminum. I always keep little spools of wire like this on the hand with 2, and I've also got one with 4 conductors, and I use those for extending wires. So if I need to extend a stepper motor wire, I'll take the 4 conductor one, cut it, strip it, put heat shrink on it, solder it, and then shrink it so it's all nice. I don't like using extension cables, because when you add an extension cable on, you now have added potentially 3 more points of failure. So normally you would have a cable plugged right into your board. Well, 2 more points of failure. But now you have, the male end that the stepper motor plugs into. So there's 1 more point of failure. And then now another end that goes into the board. So if any of those get loose, and now you have, twice the amount of connector ends and pins to get loose potentially, it could be harder to troubleshoot. We've had a lot of people where they had these weird issues with like their easy board specifically, and they remove the extension cables and everything starts working. So, and I think also it has to do with the fact that a lot of the extension cables you get from like these Chinese companies, like, they're just not good quality. So I would rather just cut it, extend it, and do a solder and heat shrink on it. The easy boards we got, so I've talked about this before. Like, I'm not going to disclose my actual costs on the board, but just for the processor, to give you guys an idea, we were paying anywhere from $10 to $12 per processor for the easy board when we're buying like over 1,000 of them at a time. We had to pay close to $22 is what it ended up being. So that's why the board is now listed at $129 instead of $119, because we incurred literally $10 more of cost. So I figured whatever, we'll just get them running. Like me personally, whatever, if I really wanted the board, $10 isn't going to stop me. you know, and hopefully, worst case scenario, it just means we have stock on them for a little bit longer, and the people that really want them can get them. So, yeah, like I said, if anybody has anybody over in China or Taiwan that has access to legitimate LPC 1769s for, you know, under 20 bucks a processor, let us know. We can find clones all day long, but I don't use clones on our boards. So let me know if you guys, by let me know, I mean send us a message on our site. You know, there was one guy that did reach out to us, but they wanted $46 a processor. I'm not paying $46. That's going to push the price up too much. So, there was one other thing here. Someone was asking about firmware. And I wanted to at least note that. James Ross said, just so you know, the BL Touch functionality in the current Unified 2 is broken on the Ender 3 Max. It will compile unless you add defined Z-safe homing, and G29 isn't recognized for some reason. No, it's not broken. You probably didn't follow the directions. I'm not trying to be, you know, a dick, but what that tells me is, and I'll show you, because I can replicate that issue really quick right here, because I know exactly what you did. You probably did not uncomment the custom probe mount, which it does state in the directions. So if I pull this up here, well, this will be the last thing I'll run you guys through here, and show you what he did, because maybe someone will watch this, or I can clip this out. I'm extracting the files for the Ender 3 Max right now. So let me open that up in VS Code. Give me 1 second here. I know exactly what you did. You didn't follow the directions. Man. Read the directions. RTFM. Alright, so let me just close out of my chat clients here. There we go. Okay, so let's see. Ender 3 Max. He's probably got the 422 board. He probably went down here. And where is the BL Touch stuff? Right here. So let's see. This should replicate that issue. Let's see. James, I can, or not James, Justin, I can confirm that there will not be a dual extrusion add-on for the EasyBoard Lite. So here, you see this? Z-Safe homing is recommended, and it failed. It's because you did not do this section right here. So if you read here, it says, if you want to use BL Touch, uncomment the BL Touch line below, and uncomment define custom probe above. Okay? And if you look up here, we have the probe mount sections. Now, these are labeled Easy ABL, but these are all your probe mounts, okay? So you have to uncomment this here, and then go down here. Here's the custom probe settings, okay? So you can see here, this code lit up now because I uncommented custom probe, and then you would put your offsets in for your sensor. So now, if I go ahead, and this should compile now. Julio Reyes says, after an 83-hour print, my Inner 5 Plus towards the last couple hours, the carriage was making a squealing noise coming and moving the X and Y. Any idea what I have to deal with when I get home? Probably just clean the wheels, like just wipe them off with a damp cloth, and then add some lubricant to the bearings on the wheels. Also check the belts. The belts can make noise. So there we go. As you can see now, since I followed the directions, it does work. So, but again, if I, you know, don't follow the directions and don't uncomment custom probe, it's going to fail again with the Z-Safe homing error. So the thing is, too, if you just add Z-Safe homing into the config, it's also not going to work correctly, because when you uncomment custom probe here, okay, I'll step you through the firmware and the logic behind it. And then I have to go. I like talking about this stuff, you guys can't tell, but I also have that damn company thing to run. I don't think I can make enough money just live streaming, helping people with their printers all day. So if we go to the backend file, okay, this is what controls a lot of stuff. So if I do a search for custom probe, you'll see what happens here. If the custom probe option's enabled, it defines ABL enable. And if you look, anytime you enable a probe mount, any probe mount, it also defines ABL enable. So if we go through and find ABL enable, we'll see a bunch of defines here. It's on every single probe mount. You'll see we jump into this section here. So because ABL enabled is defined, because we uncommented the probe mount, it sets all these other options. We got the Z-probe repeatability test. We've got our offset ranges, our low point, other options here. So like if it wasn't a BL touch, we'd have to define fixed mounted probe for the easy ABL. It defines your XY probe speeds. It also sets the multiple probing, the bed leveling type, your grid points, and then here we go, Z-safe homing. So, and then again, there's more stuff here. So if we uncomment, if we have a BL touch, you can see here, this code's lit up because we have BL touch uncommented. It's also going to set the logic for the probe as well. So if you just shove Z-safe homing in there, it's not going to work correctly. You have to uncomment a probe mount. So, you know, like if I, just to show you for example, so if I, you know, uncomment the probe mount for the Ender 3 Max, and let's say we're putting an easy ABL on there, which y'all should be doing, and I save this and I go back into the code, you can see now the easy ABL logic is being used. And you can see here now the fixed mounted probe is lit up because we're not using a BL touch. Now, I'll show you one more thing because it's kind of cool to see it all like happen in real time. I do like that with VS Code. So like if I just say, okay, like this is something we can do with the easy ABL that you can't do reliably with a BL touch, is this very fast probing. So 15 millimeters a second. If you're using a BL touch, you're going to be capped at like 4 because it's just not that reliable. But you can see here now, it evaluated, okay, we have super fast probe enabled, so we're going to home at 266 times 60, which is 15 millimeters a second. So kind of explains, like, this is all code that I wrote, and this is what makes Unified do its magic. This is what allows you to just enable one line and tell it what printer you have, because I've actually gone through, figured out all the motor directions, the end stop logics and everything, and preset this all up for you. But that's how we're able to have like this cascading effect where you just uncomment one line and then a bunch of if then else statements in the back end and figure out what to set for your machine. So if we look here, you'll see the Ender 3 Max one is lit up now because that's what we have uncommented. So hopefully that explains things a little bit better. And we are over time. I will remind you guys one more time about the giveaway. So I just go ahead and press that. We give away a 3D printer every single month. Let me check the calendar. We have 2 more days where we will be streaming for sure. So Monday the 29th and Wednesday the 31st, those will be the last 2 days to enter. If we pop up any random live streams, we also turn the form on. You can only enter the giveaway during the live streams. So anyways, I'm going to go and get rid of this blue USB cable because I think it was, it's a guy with a cat. He's a regular here. 3D Wildcat. I think he said that it's probably USB cable. I think you're probably right. I've had issues with those. So I'm going to get a new USB cable and see if that fixes my connectivity issue. So connection between my printer and Octoprint's dropping. So yeah, it's probably the cable. That's old and it's really cheap. So anyways, I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys had a good time. I appreciate everybody that stops by. And yeah, as always, happy printing. And if you guys want to check us out and support us, we don't accept like direct, like we don't do Patreon and stuff. I thought about it. I have like a subscribe star created, but we don't use it. But the easiest way to support us is either use affiliate links down in the description or buy some upgrades from us for your 3D printer. So anyways, you guys take it easy. And as always, happy printing.